To weed a stand in a way that takes into account the forest system is to consider crown placement. In even-age forest stands, crown placement is a useful way to both describe competition among trees and to prescribe silvicultural treatments. In this image, dominant trees, D, emerge above the general level of the canopy. Looking up, their crowns are often round and receive light from above and from the side. Codominant trees, CD, make up the general level of the canopy, receiving light from above and indirect light on their sides. Because they compete for space with other codominant trees, their crowns are often abraded, meaning they have been worn on one or two sides as a result of wind moving theirs and other crowns in the canopy. The red oak crown near the center of the picture is codominant and in competition with the red maple entering the picture from the lower left. Intermediate trees, I, extend into the canopy, receiving light only from above. These trees have poor crowns and are not very competitive. Depending on their shade tolerance, they may or may not respond to release. Release refers to the process of cutting competing trees in order to allow the remaining trees to have more light and resources to grow. Because an intermediate tree has a poor crown, it might not be able to take advantage of the new resources. Last, the overtopped or suppressed trees, S, are fully below the canopy and receive no direct sunlight and have very small crowns. The tree reaching for the space between the two red oaks from the lower left is clearly suppressed. Make weeding and thinning decisions in a forest stand by first looking at crown placement. Then, like weeding and thinning individual plants in a garden patch, thin a timber stand by removing individual trees, usually by cutting. Cutting in a stand should remove competitive trees, which increases light to residual trees, and in that process redistributes growth potential. However, before you begin cutting, it is important to have clear objectives. Think about what you want to accomplish in your cutting, with the intent being to create desired future conditions in your woodlot. As you look ahead, you want to ensure that you retain options, including goals such as maintaining species diversity or ensuring seed sources of desired remaining tree species. Depending on your objectives and the cutting intensity, it is possible to shift species composition to meet future desired conditions. Further, cutting makes it possible to obtain products with economic value, as well as creating non-economically valued products such as improved wildlife food sources or habitat. This type of forward thinking takes purposeful planning. For example, your objective might be to gather firewood. Find out which trees make good firewood, as well as which trees are in competition with those you want to retain. Consider how the proposed cutting fits with your long-term goals. While cutting accomplishes a number of objectives, there is a paradox in timber harvesting. A well-planned and executed harvest can improve stand conditions and have a positive impact on the forest. However, a harvest without careful planning can have long-term negative impacts on forest conditions, perhaps extending across generations. Due to logging history in Pennsylvania, most stands are comprised of only one or two age classes, although occasionally there are three. Therefore, just because some trees are larger than others in the stand does not mean they are older. Don't fall into the trap of thinking that big trees are older than small trees. Until you are ready to regenerate the forest, continually work toward improving residual tree quality, and as the stand develops, help those trees that have expressed the best growth. Gardens and forests both represent systems that depend on resources for their growth and function, and benefit from management to achieve desired outcomes. Removing all the carrot plants and leaving weeds is not a good strategy unless you find value in weeds. In the same way, removing just the best and largest trees in a harvest or thinning is not likely the best decision. What is done to one part of the forest will affect the whole system. When making decisions about cutting, always remember, Silvicultural treatments consider the forest system as a whole.